Now, in the last few years in the gaming industry, it's been apparent that some companies want to charge you more for gaming. And there's been a lot of pushback in the last few years. When you think about it, the quality of these games, some of them have been absolutely atrocious, and some of these companies want to charge 60, 70, even $80. That's not to bash anyone who has bought games at that price, because it's all subjective. If you find a game that you really love, for instance, Mario Kart Worlds was the first game to cost, what was it, $80? And that was a first for Nintendo. It had sold over 14 million units worldwide as of December 31st, 2025. So it's probably sold a lot more than that. We've got an article from the Bank of America, and they're trying to say that video game industry would have difficulty selling games for 80 if GTA 6 costs 70. And they go on to say here that Take-Two would be doing the video game industry a favor if it went higher than $70. And this is the problem. Well, first of all, it's from the Bank of America. I don't think they really know how gamers work or how people work, because they look at people as a statistic. They just instantly think because gaming is the most profitable, the most money-making industry out of movies, out of music, they just think, yeah, no, this is what people should be paying, not realizing that people have the choice whether to buy these games. And we've had it in the recent months where some companies think, nope, we're charging $80 for a game. And then they realize, oh, nobody's pre-ordering our game. Now, if you remember here, the Outer Worlds 2 $80 price has gone horribly down with PS5 players. This was on the 10th of June 2025. And I actually remember when this game was actually being marketed, I was actually interested in this game. I never bought it because I haven't bought the first one. And after that, I just thought, why am I going to do that after you've just tried to take the piss out of everyone? And what's crazy is that they realized people would not pre-order in their game. And then they backtracked on $80 price tag for the Outer Worlds 2 following public outcry. 70, they decided to charge $70. And I don't actually know how well or how good this game is actually sold. We're going to come to GTA 6 in a minute, because GTA 6 is an exception when it comes to gaming. This is going to break the internet. This is going to stop people. But a lot of people are not going to go to work because of GTA 6. And this is different. And the problem is some companies think that they can then charge 80 but just because Grand Theft Auto 6, and I don't understand why they've come to that conclusion, because when you look at it, Obsidian already is trying to improve the Outer Worlds 2's poor presentation on PS5 Pro. So for me, if I was buying a product at $80 a game, and this was on November 2025, I'm not sure how it's doing now. Maybe some of you can let me know in the comments. The thing is, they think they can automatically charge these prices, and then they don't release a perfect game. It runs amazing, there's no glitches, there's no problems, and that's what we've had over the last few years. Like, we've got used to sometimes like, oh, this game's broken. Oh, most people wait, unless it's a game they really freaking want, they usually wait 6 months to a year. I see it in all of the comments on my videos. A lot of people wait 6 months to a year. No, I've got a massive backlog. I buy cheaper games, I buy AA games, I buy indie games, and I can wait 6 months to a year when it goes on sale, because it's inevitable most of these games eventually go on sale. And we're going to go through some of this article because it is so baffling, because I get it as well, because I'm not saying GTA 6 should be 80 or should be 70. Would I like for it to be 70? Yeah. Do I think it's going to be minimum 70? Yes. Do I think they're going to charge more potentially? They could probably easily bump this up to 80 and this will automatically sell millions, but there will be people that wouldn't buy this game. So according to Seeking Alpha, Omar Dasuki of Global Research came away from last week's Icon conference with a firm recommendation: GTA 6 should be 80, $10 more than the norm. So the analysts, because they predict things very well, on the GTA 6 price are all over the place, with some saying Rockstar should stick with 70. It could easily go up to $100 depending on what the company does with the next iteration of GTA Online. This will obviously be the biggest game in gaming history. There's no doubt about that. He says, saying that if GTA 6 was to cost $70, video game companies would no longer be able to get away with charging more than that for their games. That would put pressure on the likes of Nintendo, for example, who charged $80 for Mario Kart World. And that is 100% true. If they were to release GTA 6 at 70, gosh, I think everyone would be surprised. I think it would be an actual good move for Rockstar to actually do that, because you know that is going to sell absolutely millions. Now, if they try to bump it anything more than 80, that's when you know you're going to start alienating your audience who want the game, because let's be honest, a lot of people are not going to spend $80 freaking dollars on a game when in recent years, we've got some of the best games, indie games, £18 for Hollow Knight Silksong. It's even cheaper now. You got Clair Obscure Expedition 33. You got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. You got Mafia the Old Country. That was a much smaller game, obviously. But my point is, there are other games, smaller games that people do prefer. They would rather spend less money on a game that's going to take them 10, 15 hours to complete, rather than a completely massive open world. Now, I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm just saying for the majority. Like, you look at Pragmata, the success that game has hit. And that game was a lot cheaper. I believe I bought that for like 40 something pounds. Unbelievable game. I got my review coming real soon. And that sold already 2 million copies. And that is an incredible game. Just because it's an incredible game, it doesn't mean that, oh yeah, I would have paid more for it. Because it's a new IP, it's a totally different category, but I feel like it doesn't give them the excuse to be like, yeah, we should be bumping this price up. Now, they go on to say, we've also heard from attendees in the industry, which is perceived as struggling, would have difficulty selling games for 80 if GTA came at 70, 100%. His quote is saying, we think it's in Take-Two's self-interest as a publisher and a partner to many developers to raise the price point for the entire industry. Now, he goes on to say the suggestion here is that Take-Two would be doing the video game industry a favor if it was higher than 70. This is where it goes wrong, because just because you raise it to say $80, it doesn't mean other companies can do that. That is an exception. And Take-Two CEO, Zelnick, consumers pay for the value that they bring to them. And our job is to charge way, way, way less of the value delivery. How you feel about something you buy is the intersection of the thing itself and what you pay for. Consumers need to feel like the thing itself is amazing and the price that they were charged was fair for what they got. And then they go on to mention that game pricing has actually got cheaper over the years, a reference to the fact that major game releases have been priced at 60 or 70 for more than a decade. We look at how to deliver something amazing and how do we make sure that what people pay for feels reasonable. And I think people forget this, because just because back in the day, back in the 2000s, I was looking at how much was gaming costing back in the day. And I think in the 2000s, I believe it was around 50 and then it went up to 60. And what people don't realize is that even back then, living conditions were much easier, like rents, mortgages, food. And what people don't realize as well with the gaming industry, and I think this is where they've gone wrong since kind of COVID, because they thought just because it's booming, we can invest billions and millions into this and we're going to make so much money, not realizing that you're there to entertain people. So you have to sell to people in order for people to be invested into your product. So I feel like in today's world, it's a totally different era than it was in the 2000s. You can say what you want, that prices were a lot cheaper and technically we should be paying 100, but nobody's going to be paying 100. This is the problem with AAA developers and these big corporate gaming companies, because they think, oh, this is what we should charge in terms of inflation, but then they don't realize that, oh wait, people will just simply turn to indie games. They will just turn to AA games. They will turn to even Asian developers where they're doing an incredible job. And of course, how much is costing for them to make their games? For instance, like Black Myth Wukong sold millions. And I believe that cost around like 80 million to make. And the problem is you've got like the Western world making games for 250, 300 million. And it's like, that's not even sustainable. So supposedly we are going to get, obviously, Rockstar kicking off the GTA marketing, hopefully a trailer 3 this summer, because this game is supposedly coming this year. And there was actually a poll here that actually said, how much would you be willing to pay for GTA 6? I actually put 80. 80 pounds is a lot of money. If I wasn't doing YouTube, this is what I'm taking into consideration. The amount of games I buy is only because I do YouTube. I want to play through these games. I want to review them. If I was just gaming for a hobby, like I bought Crimson Desert and I'm still playing that, I probably would have been playing that all year. That and probably Resident Evil would have done me good until GTA 6. Don't get me wrong, there are other games I'd want to play, but I would be casually gaming. For me, it's a bit different because I'm trying to make it as a YouTuber and doing YouTube videos, so it's a bit different. And if they were to charge 80 for GTA 6, it doesn't mean that everyone else in the industry should be like, yes, we can now sell our game at 80 pounds, because you don't realize people, it's a competition. Like I've just mentioned, the AA and the indie studios, more and more people are buying those. And that's the problem. It's like, I don't get what they're trying to say by saying, oh, you're doing the industry a favor by raising the price to 80. It's like buying a car. Just because a Lamborghini costs, I don't know, 300 grand. It doesn't mean that, a standard car that, maybe a sports car is like, oh, well, if they charge 300, we should charge more. No, I just want a car to get me to A to B. Why should you raise the price just because elite sports cars and all of these incredible racing cars or luxury cars, they cost that much? I don't know if that's a good analogy, but you know what I'm saying. I just don't know how much GTA 6 is going to cost. Do I think it's going to cost about 80? Potentially. I think they could charge 80, and I think a hell of a lot of people, even if they say they don't, I think a lot of people would still buy this game, because you got to look at it in terms of value. Like, they haven't even started the marketing push, so we don't really know much about we haven't seen any gameplay, we haven't seen much story. We have an idea about the story. I think once we see some gameplay and once we see what this game looks like, what they're going to do in the future, they're obviously going to have GTA Online. I think a lot of people will then be like, wow, I want to play this game, because the last time I bought GTA 5 was, I don't know, PS3, PS4, and then on the PS5, because it's been re-released so many times. We have to talk more when the marketing starts, because that's where maybe now people might be like, you know what, I'm not going to spend that. But I feel like once we start seeing the trailers and the gameplay, they might, and most probably might, blow us away. It's going to be a very difficult one, but anything more than 80, I think that's a very, very hard sell. If they do anything more than 80, yes, I think it's still going to sell, but I think a lot of people will be like, you know what? I think I'm going to wait. I've got so many other games to play and I've got my backlog. If you don't suffer from that FOMO, which you shouldn't, you should always wait a bit, then you might not have a problem. But what do you think about this article here from the Bank of America about $80 games? How much would you spend on GTA 6? And would you think that other companies would then have a right to raise the price of their game? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know.